Maybe once we become more comfortable with death as a society, as civilization, we'll be able to understand and that we're not here to learn everything in one life.
That's an excellent way of putting it because I think a lot of what fuels us is that we want to figure this shit out before we leave. And we forget because it's gone out of the teaching that you never really disappear. You're not going to disappear. It's like my mom said she's on the other side. I've talked about her to y'all. I said, what was it like when you died your body? She said, well, it got very quiet and then it was dark and then I was myself again. Oh, well, how long did that take? I don't know. But you are yourself again. Yourself is your soul. It really is. And the thing about death, we've sanitized it in this Western world so much. Last week, I think we talked about embalming, how the embalming during the Civil War became fashionable because you had to ship these bodies back. You know, the embalming in Egypt, what a mess that was. That was horrible. It's all awful. But why do we want to preserve these shells we live in? It's ridiculous. We're moving to a time to understand that you have got to burn that body, burn that thing. After 3 days, when the etheric bodies are reabsorbed, just cremate it. It's clean, it's perfect, and that's what's going to happen. But we don't talk about this anymore. If you want to learn something about that, there's two, I forget who they are. There are these two wonderful gals on YouTube. They're different sides. They're morticians. And I decided that part of the requisite to be a female mortician is you have to be hysterically funny and brilliant. Oh my God, these girls are wonderful. They can tell you about what happens. You can learn from other people to where all of a sudden you think you're just not going to be here. There's terror in that. I wouldn't want to think that. I remember I said, oh my God, this was hysterical. It was about 50 years ago. I remember saying to my mom, we talk about this a lot because she was a Scorpio. And I said, you know, when you die your body, Mom, you're still conscious. You're still here. She said, well, how do I get my body there? You don't take your physical body, Mom. She couldn't get that. It just wasn't in her consciousness to get that. Now she knows. Now she's on the other side. It's like, oh, I don't need that old body. So we need to talk about this more. And why isn't this taught in school at a certain age? High school. Why isn't it taught? The reason is that the religions have it fixed so that they've got you so terrified in a way that if you don't do their particular dogma, that when you die, you're either going to disappear or go into eternal punishment or float on a cloud for the rest of the world. And none of those things are true. And you know it's not. You all know in your gut that's bullshit, but you don't know where to go to get the truth. Well, I'm not going to give it to you. Figure it out yourself because your truth may be different than mine. But I guarantee you, once God has created your soul, you are shot out of the isness. You are eternal. You never stop. To the point where you might, in a billion years, ensoul an entire solar system. There is no end to this. And the terrifying thing about not knowing this and about being afraid of death and thinking that we live forever in the physical body, that's a lie. It's just a lie. So if you're interested in that, do a little work, ask around, and figure it out. We can discuss it again.
So people being freaked out by bodily death is just a control tactic.
You know, I think it is in a way, but also the body itself, the physical body does have a consciousness. And I remember when I would go to someone's house and they were in hospice or something, and I would do Reiki on them. I'm Reiki master. My hands could not get hot to save my life. Oh my God. If you are doing Reiki, if you're a Reiki master, an energy healer, you can hold your hands out in front of you and focus, and your hands will get burning hot. I could not get my hands to get hot around a body that was dying. It sucked up every bit of energy, but it was also trying to say, leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm fine. So that took me a little while to figure out. You're not really welcome here, Gilly. Go away. And I would say that the energy, so called healing, needed to be done on the people around the body. But these bodies know how to die. They know, but they will hang on. They will hang on because they have a consciousness to them. It's a very interesting phenomena, this whole dying process. There are also some gals on YouTube who are hospice nurses. Fascinating, fascinating stuff. And they talk about the dying process, what happens to the body. And it's kind of icky, but get used to icky. Get used to being comfortable being uncomfortable. Just take a little bitty step at a time with that. And you'll find that it toughens you up. I think part of what's happening in 2026, all the predictions, anywhere from the astrologers, the psychics, the naughty readers, we are in a time of things happening so fast. We got to get tougher. We got to control our emotions more, y'all. We have to say, and I'm going through this myself, I am so uncomfortable. I feel fear. I feel loss. I feel good. I'm glad you feel those, Zoli. Let it go. That's saying bye. See you in the rearview mirror. Don't hang on to that shit. But get comfortable being uncomfortable some. If if the first thing you do when you feel discomfort is you go get an addiction, and we all can do that. Oh my God, hello. If that's the first thing you do, try just sitting with it for a little bit. See what happens. Just see what happens.
Do you think we can become desensitized over time?
Yeah, I do. I really do. Now, when I was a kid, I was such a weird kid. I've jokingly said God wanted me to get it early, that I had to have some humility and love and compassion. Kids hated me, teacher hated me. I was so weird. Oh, I was the weirdest kid on the block. And I wanted to be a mortician. I wanted to, oh, well, little Zoe, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to do an autopsy. You're 10. How can you know that? Oh, no, no, no. I want to see dead things. Well, you went on a vacation. Where'd you go? The cemeteries? Your parents let you go? No, but I went anyway. You're 12. How did you go? Well, they were in the museum. I went across the street. I loved that stuff. I loved it because I knew that there was a life there involved too. One time I was in a cemetery, now this was in London. My brother and I were walking around the cemetery with these famous people were buried. And around the side of a crypt, I saw this little face looking at me going, come here, come here, come here. And I walked over there. Of course, there's nobody there. It was like a child or a little David being. But I thought, I'm welcome here. This is my world. I feel more comfortable with my world. And that was a little after the time that my parents started sending me to a psychiatrist. I got sent to a psychiatrist from third grade until, oh gosh, I was probably 20, 22 years old. I was strange. And they kept saying back to my parents, there's nothing wrong with her. Mom's like, there's something weird about, I can't figure, and I can't help her. I can't help her. Would you please help her? And they're like, she's got the normal issues. She gets angry and she does this and that, but there's nothing wrong. There's nothing in the DSM, with just nothing here. So my poor mom knew, and she couldn't figure out what it was. But that was my path. So for me getting comfortable with that, I was always comfortable. But what I'm not comfortable with a lot of times is learning about human behavior. So I have to be more patient with myself. I'm not good at that. I would win an award for the most impatient, impervious person in the state of Montana. Oh my God, I'm terrible at it. So we're each going to have our different areas. What do you need? What are you uncomfortable with? And it can be something small. I'm uncomfortable waiting for dinner. Well, there's a reason for that. Maybe you're hungry. We have to figure out what is it that we're really uncomfortable with and then back it up. Back it up to what happened in your childhood to make you uncomfortable. Mine was that I had no friends. Kids hated me. I was too weird. I was just the weird. I was like Wednesday Adams and the Adams family. I was the strangest child. I wasn't hateful. I didn't hurt people, but it was just me being me. So I have issues from them that are still there. It made me an INFJ. It made me watch other people and want to be discerning. That was my security blanket. So look at who you were as a child and go, what was I uncomfortable with? During grade school, what programmed me to feel like this? Did I have an Aunt Ada that said, "Oh, you can't do anything like that. That's going to be bad and it's going to hurt you." Well, we hear that stuff. We hear that. And maybe she meant us well. So you have to back it up far enough and get some help doing it because it really is fascinating. It'll tell you a lot about yourself. Just saying.